Fed Chair Janet Yellen kicks off 2 days of testimony before Congress today. What will investors be watching for? We'll have the answers from our very own Chief Economics Correspondent, John Hilsenrath. That and more right here, right now on the News Hub. Good morning and welcome. I'm Simon Constable, and Mr. Hilsenrath is standing by in Washington. John, thank you very much for being there. We know you spend a lot of your time watching the Fed, and we pretty much know what you're going to be doing today, watching Janet Yellen.
Yeah.
Let's go through some of the things that you'll be looking at. We know the economy is still fragile. What in particular on the fragility will you be looking at?
Well, so the first thing that I'm going to be looking for when her testimony comes out in about an hour and a half is how does she react to the jobs report? We got pretty strong jobs numbers on Friday. She has to have been pleasantly surprised by the pickup in job growth that we've seen. But there's still a lot of signs of slack that we saw in that same report. For instance, a lot of part-time workers who want full-time work. So we have to see how she frames that and how she sizes up the latest jobs numbers. I think that could be the biggest news coming out today is she's seeing this spring pickup that the Fed has been forecasting for a while now.
Okay, the next thing is where should interest rates be, I guess, when we get back to normal? And it seems that we've been in a sort of abnormal situation for a very long time.
Yeah. Well, so, I mean, there's two pieces of this that the Fed is wrestling with. One is, when do they start to raise rates? And the expectation right now in the market, and the Fed seems to be comfortable with it, is, not until sometime around the middle of next year. I don't think Yellen is going to be moving the ball on that. I think they've got to see more evidence that either the economy is picking up more quickly than they expected or inflation is picking up before they change that calculus and pull it in. And then there's the question of once they do start raising rates, how high do they go? And Yellen has talked about this a little bit, but frankly, she hasn't talked about it in great detail. The view at the Fed is that even once they start raising rates, they can't afford to raise them too much because the economy remains very fragile from this recession.
And will the Fed be keeping an eye on things overseas? Will they be looking at China and the sort of the slowdown in growth? It's still growing, but it's not quite as torrid as it used to be.
It's funny. The world overseas right now looks very tumultuous. Who knows what's going to happen in Ukraine, between Russia and Ukraine? That could affect Europe. But it actually, from the Fed's perspective, I think looks a little bit more benign today than it did the last couple of years. Despite all these worries about Ukraine, the growth numbers are starting to pick up in Europe, certainly in the UK. So, that takes a little bit of worry out of the equation for the Fed. And we're all waiting to see if China's slowdown, turns into something more serious. But I think Fed officials feel that the Chinese can handle their slowdown, and they have enough resources and tools to be able to pump the economy up if they need it. So the Fed isn't too worried about the rest of the world right now.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, John Hilsenrath. We appreciate your time.